Now, David Benavidez is big, he's strong, he's tall, he's powerful, he's got fast hands, he's breaking everyone down, and everyone thinks that he is unbeatable. And this, for very good reason, that everyone thinks he's unbeatable, because he has physical dominance, and the casual fan sees that physical dominance and they say, that guy's not going to get beaten. But what the casual fan doesn't see is technical dominance, is ring craft, is distance control, is manipulating your opponent before you even throw a single punch. And this is where Benavidez lacks, in my opinion, at an elite level. And when we break down the resumes, I'm going to show you why this is so. So let's go. First, let's break down David Benavidez' record. Okay, so first, his best win, or one of his best wins, is Demetrius Andrade. Demetrius Andrade is a highly skilled boxer, talented, he's fast, he's quick, he's got good footwork, he can pivot and move around, which he actually did to Benavidez, made him look silly in there. But context matters. This would have been a solid win if it weren't for the fact that Andrade came up and weight, if it weren't from the fact that Andrade has been inactive, if it weren't from the fact that Andrade hasn't consistently been beating elites. Now, this matters significantly. Although it's a solid win, it's not a top-tier elite level win. In boxing, momentum means so much. It means everything. Andrade had no momentum. Benavidez had every momentum. And Benavidez was meant to win. That's how the script was meant to go. Although that was a very good win, question marks. Now we go into Caleb Plant. Good feet, good hands, good defense, good ring craft. But before fighting Benavidez, what was the best win on his records? It was Canelo Alvarez, the only elite he's ever fought before Benavidez. And that was a loss. That was a clear beatdown. So the only time he's ever operated at elite level prior to fighting Benavidez, he lost. Again, Caleb passed the eye test, just how Benavidez does. It looks good to the eye, to the casual fans, and it's easy to build momentum, easy to build up a narrative that this guy is truly elite, even though he hasn't done anything to deserve it. So Caleb Plant, although he's a very good boxer, he passed the eye test, and people start believing he's better than he actually is because of the level of the opposition he's fighting. Caleb Plant, a great boxer, but again, question marks. How legit was that win? David Morrell, another boxer, he's southpaw, he's up and coming, so he hasn't mixed with as many elites. But this is still a very good victory. This is probably better than the Caleb Plant victory because he's a strong up and coming boxer, good skills. But recently, a boxer from UK, Zach Chelli, beat David Morrell. Now, Zach Chelli from UK, he's a really big boxer. Everyone in UK knows who Zach Chelli is. But on paper, Zach Chelli isn't truly a world level elite. So if Morrell really was a world level elite, would he have lost to Zach Chelli? Now, this puts a question mark on the legitimacy and the validity of Benavidez' win, because he just lost to somebody who isn't at elite level yet. Not saying he won't get there, but Zach Chelli isn't there yet. He shouldn't have been beaten David Morrell if David Morrell's win is going to have significance for Benavidez. So again, another question mark. So many question marks. Okay, let's go into his most recent win against Zurdo Ramirez. Now, Zurdo Ramirez is at cruiserweight. So that is good because it shows that he can adapt. He shows that Benavidez isn't scared. He stepped up in weight division to fight a cruiserweight. But now we have to look into that win. And we have to look into that fight. So stylistically, Zurdo at cruiserweight actually fits into Benavidez' style more so because he's going to be a bigger guy. He's going to have less cardio. He's going to be flat-footed. And he's going to stand right there so you can punch him. Now, what this fight does show is that Benavidez has a very good chin and he's not going to get stopped. But stylistically, the win is even easier at cruiserweight. He was the taller, bigger man in there. Zurdo wasn't a bigger man. He might have weighed more. He might have been fatter. But Benavidez has a bigger physique than Zurdo. And he bust him up, as we saw. Zurdo had already lost to Bivol when he was in his prime, his optimal weight. So although, again, these are all very solid wins, but that's the thing, it's not elite. Now, elite is very different to being a very solid boxer who's got promise. And that's, in my opinion, what Benavidez has. He has promise to that elite level, but we've never really seen him operate on that elite level. Now, stylistically, Caleb Plant, now he's meant to have good footwork, so it's a good win because he could deal with it. Andrade, although he came up in weight and he was inactive, he's got good footwork, so we can deal with it. These are good. But as we saw against the Andrade fight, what we saw was when Benavidez fights somebody with his weakness, he struggles because the punch output dropped by more than half. He wasn't the same Benavidez that fought Ramirez at all. So it shows that although he can beat people that possess the skills that negate his style, he will struggle. But against boxers who fight to his strengths, he dominates and he flares, he stands out. Stylistically, when you can compare that to Dmitry Bivol, someone who's naturally at a higher weight than Benavidez, has all of those, possesses all the skills that Benavidez has previously struggled against and has operated at an even higher level than Benavidez, that becomes an issue. But now let's break down Dmitry Bivol's resume and let's see how that stands up in comparison to Benavidez. Commercially, his biggest win was against Canelo Alvarez. But again, context matters. Canelo Alvarez is a small guy. He came up from what, like, is it 140 he came up from? Or 147 originally? So when he comes up and he fights Bivol at 175, like, he's too small to beat an elite light heavyweight. It's just not gonna happen. But he stood his ground and he fought well. So context matters. Context matters for Benavidez and for Bivol. Don't think I'm gonna be biased, but still, that was a very good win. He completely negated and shut down Canelo. It was like a sparring session, in my opinion. I didn't think Canelo ever dominated Bivol. Bivol never looked like, he never looked lost in there, never looked scared. He looked like he was always in control. Even when Canelo was throwing shots on him, he was just catching them, hooking, spinning off. He shut down the biggest commercial boxer alive at the current time when they fought. He completely dominated him. So although context makes that win a little less, that is still a very good win. People compare Bivol beating Canelo to Benavidez beating Andrade, but the context is completely different. When Bivol beat Canelo, Canelo was active, current, dangerous, and still knocking the elite fighters out with one punch. Andrade, meanwhile, he only fought twice in 2 years before facing Benavidez. He was highly skilled, but he wasn't active or fully battle-tested at that point. So yes, Benavidez deserves credit, but it's not the same level as Bivol beating an active Canelo Alvarez. Now, when we look at Zurdo Ramirez, it was harder for Bivol to beat him than it was for Benavidez to beat him. But that is to do with styles, because at light heavyweight, Ramirez is a big guy. Now, Benavidez wants you to stand still. Benavidez wants to trade with you. Whereas Bivol wants the distance control. He wants to manage timing, manage rhythm. So when you're in there with someone who's bigger than you, with longer reach than you, this can become difficult. Although Ramirez was at his prime, Ramirez was fresher when Bivol boxed him, Bivol still managed to get the W, but again, it was styles make fights. This was still a good win, but styles make fights. Next, a fight that a lot of fans are going to overlook is Craig Richards. I believe, stylistically, this was by far Bivol's hardest fight. You need to go back and watch it. In fact, Dmitry Bivol himself, in an interview, he mentioned Craig Richards to be the hardest boxer he's ever competed against.
Who's the hardest fighter that you fought?
You know, every fight is hard. You know, I remember even Craig Richards, when I was fighting Craig Richards in England, it wasn't easy for me.
And the reason why is because they're both fighting the distance between the man, not just focused on the man. They're focusing on technical dominance. And no one else Bivol's fought has had the same game plan as Craig Richards to focus on technical dominance rather than just trying to overwhelm and outpower your opponent. That's why this fight was so difficult. But what it shows is that even when Bivol is fighting someone with just as long reach as him, good footwork like him, same game plan as him, he still manages to overwhelm and overcome them. He still manages to adapt and outthink, outmaneuver them, out-strategize them. And that shows that Bivol, just like Benavidez, they can beat boxers, even when those boxers fight with their strengths. Now the last fight, Artur Beterbiev. Now this fight completely changes everything. These two fights, it's just him competing in these two fights is all they need. It's all he needs to have done, in my opinion, for his resume to completely shut down Benavidez. And now let me explain. In the first fight, he got the loss. And people think because he got the loss and Benavidez is undefeated, of course Benavidez will win. Context matters. People say Bivol lost to Beterbiev in the first fight. And officially, yes, he did. But context matters. Because when you actually break down the fight, technically, a lot of people believe Dmitry Bivol won the fight. Why is that? Because he was controlling the distance, managing the positioning, landing the cleanest shots. Bivol actually outlanded Beterbiev in total punches landed. He didn't throw more punches overall. Beterbiev had the higher output, but Bivol was the more accurate fighter, and that matters significantly. Because landing more while throwing less usually points to something technically. It often means your defense is more efficient, your timing is better, your distance control is forcing the other fighter to miss more. Beterbiev brought the pressure, the volume, the forward momentum, but Bivol was making him reset, controlling the range, and landing the cleaner work throughout large parts of the fight. So when people talk about the result, you have to talk about context behind the result. Now, he didn't just control the distance. He didn't just have a tight high guard when he was cornered and then quickly spin off. But what he did was he worked in the gaps. Now, when we see Benavidez box, he just walks forward, and in the gaps, he just takes shots. But eventually, he wears down his opponent. Now, if he does that against Bivol, he'll be taking those shots, but he never will wear him down. So he'll never get to that moment where he's losing and then he wins. That moment where he wins will never come. Because Bivol has shown in the second fight, Beterbiev threw over 700 punches. And he wasn't able to wear him down. 700 punches with a lot more power than Benavidez. That's the reason why this fight completely changed it. Beterbiev is an all-time great boxer. Benavidez has not boxed one all-time great ever. Now, the real difference between their resumes is that when you watch David Benavidez box Ramirez, you don't think about, oh, he's flat-footed, it plays into his style. You just see that 10-punch combos, and you think, bloody hell, cool, this guy's brilliant. You don't see the technical dominance. You don't take into account the fact that Beterbiev had a 100% knockout ratio and was completely dominated. He was the all-time great. You don't look at that fact and think Bivol still managed to manipulate, beat him, and control him. You don't think about that. And that is the main difference. We have to stop judging with the eye and we have to judge with the mind. Now, don't get me wrong. David Benavidez is a great boxer. No one is beating him easily. I mean, absolutely no one. But who have you got? David Benavidez or Dmitry Bivol? Please take into account everything I've said. Don't just see it like he's being biased. Try to understand it from someone who understands boxing. And more importantly, if Dmitry Bivol beats Artur Beterbiev, who has a 100% KO ratio, the same style, the same game plan as Benavidez, minus the fast hands, why can't he do it twice?